Hey!
Smackdown! What is up? Thank you for joining us, chat, on this amazing recap with the Dirt Sheet Radio crew. My name is Nick Larocco, and I am joined always by some amazing friends. We got Mac, back from the dead, and we also got CJ. In that order, introduce yourself, friends.
Hello, I am Mac. I almost died of a kidney stone last week, but I'm back now, so there we go.
CJ Carter, longtime viewers of the show might remember me. I haven't been on in a while, but hoping to be a more regular pundit going forward.
Woo-hoo. We got to find a way to implement CJ into the naming scheme for Friday Nick Mac John.
We'll
CJ Nick Mac John. There we go.
CJ, you're being too modest. This is CJ from the Level Up podcast.
Yes. CJ and Tyler's Level Up Adventure. Gotta shill wherever we can. But hey, it's Friday. That's Sunday. We gotta talk some Smackdown.
Exactly, fellas. This Smackdown, we gotta break some glass. Pop that fist out there. You old-time Smackdown fans know what I'm talking about. We also have in the background our lovely, lovely man in charge of the behind-the-scenes area, John Van Dam, John Escudero. There he is.
No more fist talking. Please.
Only ovals. You got it. Those of you diehard fans, you know what I'm talking about.
A fist in our background, so how can we not talk about it?
It's right there. The Rock's trying to eat it. Look. All right. But let's get right into a modern-day SmackDown, friends, shall we? We open up the show with the Grayson Waller effect. The crowd went absolutely mild. Ooh. But you know who didn't go mild? Cody, as he comes out, face that runs the place. This is his town. And honestly, the crowd was digging the Cody Roadster. So much so that they were okay with him making fun of someone's accent, as the top star usually would do, right? We had Cody Rhodes addressing the Grayson Waller effect and A-Town Down Under. They're saying, hey, we wouldn't turn on each other. We wouldn't do that. But guess what? Your friend Kevin Owens, KO, you think you can trust him? You think he's a good friend? No. So they gave us examples A through Z. You had a little bit of everything. You even had a shout out to Chris Jericho. You had Kofi Kingston, who's an angel. And then on top of that, you had several Sami Zayns. So much so that they even showed the one that they never were going to show again in the Thunderdome, where the KO showed sign falls onto Sammy's back.
Yeah. Can I just point out a really good sign in the crowd that said Grayson claps when the plane lands?
Dude, there were some real good signs in the crowd tonight.
Dude, there's a sign that said, I skipped school to see Cody. I'm like, okay, first of all, it's 8 o'clock at night. Second of all, even if you got out of school at 2, the show doesn't start until 6. What are you talking about?
Did you guys see the one sign? Go on, CJ.
It's also still the end of August.
Yeah, I know.
Get out of your night classes.
Shit.
Summer night classes.
Yeah.
Did you guys see the sign where it was, why was Booker T the one on the receiving end of the Bulldog by John Cena on the WrestleMania 22 poster?
Yeah, it's why is Booker T getting owned on the WrestleMania 22? And then someone like put it up
Triple
and it
H
was,
was
like,
in the
John
main
Cena.
event.
Oh.
Booker T fought Boogeyman on that show. What are you doing?
Remember the segment where Booker T was like going in the backstage area where all like the freaky stuff was happening?
Oh yeah.
Booker T and Goldust, that was cool.
I still have my WrestleMania 22 DVD, the special edition one with the Saturday night's main event disc.
Same. I love that Saturday night's main event. And that whole build that you get a little Shawn Michaels Vince tease in there too. It's fun stuff.
Yeah. And it's probably worth a considerable amount now because the WWE edited the women's championship match.
You know,
oh yeah.
I was actually might have to double check. I think they took it out of that too. I think it's off the DVD. From what I remember, you can only see it on the ripped satellite feed that's out there on the internet. But
it has to live in your memories. That's the only place you can see it now.
Before I let you guys get back to SmackDown, you talked about that Saturday night's main event, and it reminded me of how excited I was just to see Shawn Michaels do the suck it. I think he did it on that Saturday night's main event for the first time, and everyone's like, "Oh my god!"
Oh, Mama
Larocco!
Oh, hey!
Thank you.
Hey.
Yeah, there we go.
But yes, that was a fun time. 2006 DX reunion. That was good long-term storytelling. Triple H trying to do that a lot though, all throughout the show.
That's true.
That was that was also the Saturday night's main event with one of my all-time favorite segments that they will never ever show again. The beer drinking contest between Stone Cold and JBL.
Oh yeah, where JBL was pouring the beers out.
Oh, well, yeah, pouring them down the front of it. For a guy with such a big mouth, he got such a problem filling it with beer. Something like that. But JBL had a match for the United States Championship against Chris Benoit, and he came out during the segment, so it will never be shown in its entirety again.
Yeah, I think even on the Peacock versions, like they were doing with the old WWE Network before it went to Peacock, they would skip over. Like if you were watching the show in succession, it would actually skip over the Benoit part, and you had to go back. Like you had to rewind. They had like no stopgap on the WWE Network where you could go to it. So say if Rey Mysterio and Chris Benoit, hypothetically, Rey Mysterio and Kurt Angle randomly opened a show, and then Chris Benoit and Rhino was next, it would go to like the tag team match after the Benoit match, and you would have to like rewind to go back to see any like Benoit match. And I don't know who the dude was that had to do that after the whole Benoit thing, but like the whole WWE Network library from like 99 to like 07 when he showed up, and you have to go back and do that. Do it now. It's like, oh God, it's gonna take forever. It reminds me of that scene in Casino when Robert De Niro goes up to the guy and goes, I want blueberries. I want every single amount of blueberries in the muffins. He's like, do you know how long that's going to take?
All right. Well, the last thing we're going to say on the WrestleMania 22 2006 talk, that was in Chicago. So guess who was there? You know what the biggest bother was for that, by the way? One of the matches I've always wanted to see, just ever, and I never got the chance to see, was a Battle Royal. And we showed up late, so I missed the Battle Royal. And this was the Dark Match Battle Royal that they wanted Road Warrior Animal to go over because, Chicago, get that huge pop for Road Warriors, right? He accidentally falls out of the ring.
Oh, no.
And so now it's...
style?
Yeah, so now it's literally Viscera and Snitsky just staring at each other, deer in the headlights, like, what do we do? And Snitsky's like, throw me over. And then he goes and just runs at Viscera, and Viscera throws him out, and Big Daddy V won.
Oh,
now that was entertaining. So we go from the V to the A as A-Town Down Under's in the ring. Grayson Waller effect. Full swing. Kevin Owens comes out, and, KO, he wants to assure Cody that it's not going to happen to him. He's special. He's Cody Rhodes. You hear the way the crowd chants for him. Now, you know what happens. It's time to brawl. We got to get ready. Brawl for all, fellas. We got to set up the main event for tonight. What do we think of this episode, though, of this edition of the Grayson Waller effect?
So, I mean, it was a standard thing. It was just to progress the story. But the one thing that I like that Kevin did, but I don't really understand, is like when Grayson Waller and Austin Theory showed the video of Kevin Owens turning on everybody. He said, you got to admit, like, everybody in there it deserved it. He goes, except for Kofi. He goes, Kofi, I'm sorry. He goes, yeah, that's just me. That's on me. I'm sorry. But did Jericho really deserve it? Jericho was like his friend, like throughout the whole entire thing. Like when they did the Festival of Friendship, like everybody, like the week leading up to it was like, oh no, he's gonna kill Jericho. Oh no. Like Jericho didn't deserve that. Like Sammy, yeah, kind of. Sammy's been kind of a dick over the years, but like Jericho throughout that like friendship thing that they did was pretty loyal to Owens. So I thought that was kind of funny.
That was a choice.
Yeah.
But I thought Grayson Waller in particular, his heel work is fantastic. I mean, specifically tonight, just cutting off Cody Rhodes at every turn, anytime he tried to do anything. So, yeah, what do you want to talk about? Let's just carry on. Like,
cutting off the second part of his pyro.
Yeah, he's so good, and I really look forward to seeing what they do with it, because obviously they're still kind of really slowly churning out this Grayson Waller Austin Theory split, but I think this is going to be hopefully a major launching point for Grayson Waller.
They've been really dragging it out. I mean, when they had the tag titles, like a week after they got the tag titles, they were teasing dissension between them. And then, there was when Grayson was throwing Austin Theory in front of people, like super kicks and stunners and stuff. And then they had the backstage promo with Johnny Gargano where he was saying, hey man, listen, I know we haven't seen eye to eye, but like you're like my little brother. You got to see this. And you kind of saw in that promo, Austin Theory was like, you know what? Maybe, and then Grayson Waller attacked them, but they've been really it's been since WrestleMania they've been dragging this out. It's been 4 months.
Yeah. Which is very unlike WWE to drag anything out. Usually it's just a quick, like, all right, here we go. Next month, boom, they are wrestling on the pay-per-view. Yeah. I'm sorry, on the PLE.
The fact that when Triple H took over, the fact that they hired Rob Fee literally to just look after long-term storyline continuity, that was the signal to me of like, we are going to see a lot slower churning on these storylines, a lot of longer-term storytelling that is able to span months or like the Bloodline years.
Right, do you guys think that we get the KO turn before Bash at Berlin, or do you think they go in babyface?
Yeah, I think this is another example of longer term storytelling. I was thinking to myself during this match that it feels too simple for KO to turn before Berlin. I think that there's going to be a probably. By Bad Blood, KO will have turned heel.
They made an interesting point on this show in particular to highlight that one low TV rating Raw episode from Berlin back in 97. I think it was like the March 3rd, 97 episode. And
that was really cool.
Yeah, it was. And honestly, the big point with that episode was they also made sure to showcase the battle between Davey Boy and Owen. Now, while that was basically heel versus heel at the time, if you're looking at the long-term storytelling in that era, for when they were in Germany, that was honestly face versus face. And I don't think that they showed that just to be like, hey, we're going to Berlin, this happened in Berlin. I think that's going to be kind of the vibe they want to be going with both KO and Cody going into it, that element of respect. Because if you watch that match, there's a lot of respect going back and forth. When one of the guys would go to the outside of the ring, the other would go and hold the ropes open, being like, come back in, bro.
Well, they were also tag team champions at the time, too.
Exactly.
That's an interesting perspective, because when I saw it, I just looked at it at face value of they chose that match because of how energetic the crowd was. And it was kind of WWE's way of saying, give us this. Like, this is what we want from you. But I didn't look at it any deeper than that.
I mean, we were saying in the group chat that it was one of the lowest rated Raws of all time, but it was the crowd that made it. Like, they hadn't been to Berlin at that point, so when they got there, that crowd was going to cheer for anything. I mean, I even said in the group chat that the semi-main event was Leif Cassidy versus Ahmed Johnson, and it went almost 7 minutes, and the crowd was eating it up. I was watching clips. I'm like, oh my God, they're going crazy for a Leif Cassidy Ahmed Johnson match. And then you get to the main event, and man, that crowd was just there.
Let the record show, Ahmed Johnson was hot at the time too.
He was, yeah, he very much was, with his elbow pads on his biceps. Yep.
Yeah, it's like how many pads did he have? Like,
dude, he wore
his
knee pads on his thighs, and he wore his elbow pads on his biceps because he was ready to explode at any minute, like the Michelin Man.
Yeah. But honestly, though, that's the thing too, is the ratings for that when it came down to like TV viewership and Nielsen, they were very low. I think it's the lowest rated Raw when it comes down to the viewership numbers. But Mac, when you shared the image of just going to the cage match, and not to bring up the cage match meme, but the ratings on there are very high. Like the average is what, like 7.7, 8.7? Like
yeah,
a lot of people.
7.7. But I also contribute that to some like nostalgia, because the product, people complain about the product nowadays, and I think you have a lot of people going back and like watching those shows and being entertained by specifically the crowd, not necessarily just the matches, but just like the atmosphere. And they're like, oh man, that crowd was great. I mean, like look at Backlash, that they had in Puerto Rico. Like, yeah, it was a great show, but it did have some boring stuff. But when you think back of the Zelina and Io Sky match, you think back of the Bad Bunny and Damian Priest match, and you go, man, that was a really great show. And it's the same thing with that Berlin show in Raw and the 97 Raw. It had a lot of shit, but when you go back and you think about it, you're like, oh, the main event was for the first ever European champ. That was a great match. Oh my God, that was a great show. So you kind of conflate things in your mind a little bit,
Also, shout out to the
even
European
going back to Backlash in France, the crowd made that event go from good to great.
Yeah.
Sometimes a hot crowd is all it takes to really boost a show the next step up. Like, I was watching Reliving the War, and there was a crappy episode of Monday Nitro. But the one thing that episode had, for whatever reason, despite how crappy what they were watching was, the crowd just killed it and saved the whole show and made it worth watching. And that made watching a Jerry Flynn match entertaining.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, look at the AJ Styles versus Cody Rhodes match at Backlash, Personally, I didn't think it was a 5-star match. I'd put it up in the high 4s. But a crowd like that really puts it over the top when they're chanting for both guys, and the guys can feel the energy, and they're going 10 times harder because of the atmosphere and everything, So if you want to say, hey, the crowd made it a 5-star match, I'm not going to disagree with you. But you put that match in front of a crowd in like Tuscaloosa, Alabama, it's a 3.5-star match.
On a regular basis, today being the most recent example, I still get the Phenomenal song stuck in my fucking head.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's why WWE lately, I think that Backlash show in Puerto Rico really put the bug in WWE's ear and was like, oh, we need to, these crowds are unbelievable. We need to do this like at least 2 or 3 times a year.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And speaking of a hot crowd, let's go on to the next match. We had, I think this is actually the first match of the night, LA Knight versus Santos Escobar for the U.S. title. Yeah. Guys, the crowd was into this, and wow, it was loud all the way through, and I was very impressed by that. What did you guys think of this match?
Solid match, 100%. Like, I love my brain shut down on me.
Yeah.
Anything that LA Knight does, I'm a huge fan of. Santos Escobar is a solid worker, 100%. And I'll have more to say about Legado a little bit later on. But this was, I think, as far as I'm concerned, both guys' best match to date.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I was very. I'm very entertained by LA Knight. Not so much when the bell rings. I think he's an above average worker. I don't think he's out of this world. But the way that they present him and his catchphrases and the way that the crowd still responds to him, it just makes the overall presentation a 10. I would say the wrestling is maybe a 6.5 or a 7, but when you put it all together, like, it's the perfect mid-card champion to have right now, because you look at this guy and you go, he has the U.S. title, but when you see him walking, you go, oh, I could totally see him with Cody's belt, and just not miss a beat, The one criticism of the match that I'll give, but I've seen it done a 1,000 times, so it really doesn't bother me anymore to the point where it sticks in my craw or anything, is Legado del Fantasma attacked and whooped LA Knight's ass for like 5 minutes before this match started. Threw him into the post, threw him out of the ring, threw him into the steps, just beat the dog shit out of him.
Completely stomped a mud hole in him.
Dude, just gave him the beating of a lifetime, and then rolls him back in the ring, and then Santos just loses to him. A guy who's 70%, 75%. And it really makes like Santos look like, you know, less than, but I know he's a heel, but then you immediately go backstage and they're walking backstage after the match and they run into Baron Corbin and Apollo fucking Crews. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the worst. Like, don't get me wrong. I like Baron Corbin and I like Apollo Crews, but they haven't been on TV in like 4 weeks. But I'll give you, what's the name of the guy, Cody, that they hired for continuity?
Rob Fee.
Rob Fee. The last time we did see Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews, they were feuding with Legado del Fantasma. So I kind of like that, but man, going from a U.S. title match to feuding with guys who haven't been on TV in like a month is just woof. That really brought it down for me because I like Santos. I like his music. I like his group. Elektra Lopez is probably one of the most beautiful human beings on earth. I like the whole presentation. I just don't like the way that they're being booked right now, especially after that backstage segment.
It's fair.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And honestly, too, I feel like after he got beaten down, that was just it for that. It was just an excuse to get Legado out of there. Because then it didn't really seem like there was any real like semblance of continuity following that commercial break that followed. Because then it's like, oh, LA Knight's just got the regular old, you know, he's tired from a grueling match type of thing, and not he just got annihilated outside the ring, and Santos is basically picking the pieces up and throwing them left, right, front, center to get that pinfall. So
yeah, and he almost got
beaten.
And he almost got beaten like 3 seconds too.
Yeah.
And honestly, that would have been believable. You know, like you know, Santos Escobar is confident as hell now, so he's not expecting a quick roll up. You get him down for a quick 3, and that's it.
I think I would have preferred that over Santos taking like 75% of the match, and then, you know, LA Knight making his big babyface comeback, and then hitting the BFT and winning clean. I think I would have, because like you smartly said, CJ, like, he's confident, he's got all the adrenaline in the world, and then he slips on a banana peel and loses. That's like, oh shit, that was like, oh, I fucked up. But it still kind of makes him as strong, but I would still say it's like, oh, well, he fucked up. Like, he's going to learn from this and then maybe come back a couple weeks later and, you know, have a really good match with LA Knight, instead of just having his group kick his ass and then kick his ass, and then the last 3 minutes of the match he loses. You know, I'd much rather have had that roll up. Yeah, I'd much rather have had that roll up win it.
Fair. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing too with LA Knight though. Like, this match in particular just reminded me of that point that we talked about last week. How if anyone would bring back that U.S. title open challenge, I would love to see LA Knight do it.
And he did.
He did.
Yeah, exactly.
Match at Berlin.
Exactly. Yeah. And so this is why I think he is the perfect guy for this role, because he's so versatile within that WWE style. And he just, again, he feels like he's like plucked out of the Attitude Era. And I'm not talking about that stupid comparison a lot of people make with like, he's like The Rock and Stone Cold fused together as one. Like, I literally see him as just someone that if you pluck him out of right now, throw him into an Attitude Era show, he would not sink. He would absolutely swim with all of those guys. So that's what I have to say about LA Knight. We're going to say CJ?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's all I had for this match.
He's definitely the prototypical WWE wrestler. He's built. He's the right size. He's charismatic, and he wrestles the WWE style perfectly. If you bake the WWE wrestler and he came out of the oven, it would be LA Knight.
100%.
Yeah.
Fellas, how many letters are in yeah?
4?
Depends on how it's pronounced. Because I mean,
So
there's
I'd say maybe,
and then there's yeah.
Well, that's
So-
Little John. So
Yeah. We'll go with the number with the symbol of excellence, 4. And I'm not just showing that for the 4 horsemen, because sandwiched in between a Legado del Fantasma, Apollo Crews, Baron Corbin segment and the match itself for the U.S. title, we had a promo where it was Carmelo Hayes and Andrade, basically setting up the fact that we're going to be having match number 4. This is definitely building up to best of 7. This is literally.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah.
Also, was it just me, or when Andrade barged in there and he pushed into that metal door, it sounded like a gun was getting got?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, WrestleVotes had posted earlier today that there was a lot of spoilers going around for the AE Dynamite tapings in London or Cardiff last week. So he wasn't going to post spoilers for SmackDown because it felt, but it said something like, no spoilers, but how you going to let that dude come into your barbershop and punk you out at Carmelo Hayes? And I was like, oh, it's Andrade.
Fellas, we looking forward to match number 4? Think they're going to be pulling off something different?
Even if they didn't pull off something different and pretty much had the standard matches that they were having the past couple of weeks, I think they have chemistry. I think they're really good. I think they were figuring it out in the first match. The second match, they had it figured out. In the third match, they really put it together. So I'm looking forward to it. I think they're very good in the ring, and it's kind of like, it reminds me of the Redacted and Booker T best of 7 match for the United States Championship.
Dude, I was thinking about that.
That was really, really good. So. And you got to remember, I think in that one, Redacted went down 3-1 and came all the way back. So, Yeah. What do you think, CJ? Are you looking forward to it?
And then faced Randy Orton in the 7th match.
Yeah, because Booker T got hurt, yeah.
Guys, I was thinking about their other best of 7 from WCW.
Oh, no, I'm talking about the one
which itself was solid.
Where Redacted went flying into the announce table back first.
Right after Booker won King of the Ring, wasn't it?
Not sure.
Or before. No. Sorry, this was so much earlier. This was over the U.S. title in 2005.
When Booker T won the King of the Ring in 2006, I believe it was, that's when he started doing the King Booker thing, and that's when Chavo turned on Ray and at the Great American Bash, and Booker T won the world title.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that was the thing too, was I believe maybe it wasn't the U.S. title, maybe it was for the television title, but they also had a best of 7 in WCW, and it just goes to show the talent that Redacted and Booker T both had. And I think about how Redacted and Booker T had the match at Great American Bash.
I said his name on the show.
All right, Chris Redacted had that match with Booker T, and I think about how spent Booker T was. So when he got into the match with Finlay later in the night, he couldn't do those power moves anymore because, again, he just had no more strength left.
Oh, God. All right,
Sorry,
what do we got next?
Had a payment go through for Discord. Let's go. But following that, we actually had that backstage promo we talked about, and then we get to the trios match. Bianca Belair, Jade, Cargill with all of that aura that she comes in with, and Naomi taking on the unholy union of Alba Fyre, Isla Dawn, and as well as their partner, their compatriot, Blair Davenport. I think about the fact that Unholy Union once again didn't get an entrance.
No, they did.
They did.
They got
an entrance.
When I'm not on my
before the commercial break.
Yeah, right. And they had they had Blair Davenport's name like right in the middle of it too. So now they're officially like a trios.
Yeah.
All right. Well, either I was wrong or I had a bad feed because all of a sudden it comes back and there they are. But
they did it right before the commercial.
All right, awesome. Well, in that case, then we had amazing Jade Cargill coming out. They looked tremendous. Oh, especially Jade. Like, she has aura every single week, and it's nice to see her there. And I think this showcase that she had tonight in particular, and with the crowd behind her, was absolutely tremendous. Like, Jade looked like the star that she should have been from day freaking one in WWE. What say you guys on this match?
Bianca and Jade and Naomi were all wearing outfits dedicated to the outfits that Simone Biles wore.
Right.
This past Olympics. I thought that was pretty cool.
Contribute
yeah, there. I mean, I hate to say this, but I've been watching Blair Davenport for a long time on the indies. She was great. On the in the British pro wrestling scene, she's been great, but since she's got to WWE, she's been stinky dog poo, and she's been blowing spots, she's been missing spots, she's not been in the right position, and it's just over and over and over again. And I really would have liked this match more if she wasn't in it, and I hate to say that because I do like her. I don't like her in WWE, but this was just a showcase for Bianca and Jade and Naomi, like just to show off how athletic and talented and gifted that they are. And I really think they got over well because they also announced that Union is going to be facing Bianca and Jade at Bash in Berlin for the women's tag team title.
Yeah, so
who's got the cheering going on back there?
Okay, so it's don't worry about it. The point is,
CJ's fans are here, baby. Let's go.
It's good that this was a 6-woman tag. So that the champs could be protected by Davenport getting the pin, and the challengers don't get an advantage because Naomi got the pin. So it furthers, two stories at the same time, and the champs and the challengers kind of head into Bash at Berlin on near even footing.
Yeah, I think
it was a necessary evil to get to the tag match.
Absolutely, and that was the big thing too. Is not just the necessary evil factor of this, but also, Mac, like you said, and CJ, you even brought this up too, is this was literally a pure showcase of what I'd say all 6 ladies could do, but in particular, we got to see the best of, it was like, literally like a best of highlight reel for Bianca, Naomi, and Jade. And I thought this was a great showcase, especially considering that, how many weeks in a row did some of these ladies not even get featured at all leading up to this. So.
Can I just point something out? So one of my Instagram followers, Nigel Friendly, shout out, he's a really nice guy. He pointed out that this guy that put the WrestleMania sign, the Booker T, why was Booker T getting owned, had also previously on other WWE shows had signs that say, why were HBK's pants so high at SummerSlam 93? And he also had another sign that said, WWF, why did you give the game license to LGN in the 90s? So apparently so Nigel said, apparently that guy makes these signs regularly when WWE comes around.
Next generation sign guy, and I am living for it. Let's go. He needs to keep doing that. Keep it up, my man. If you were watching this, you are loved, man. All right, well, if we didn't have anything else to say about that trios match, we got that hype video for Bash in Berlin that Natalia narrated. Awesome to see, how heavy they were showcasing, the Hearts and their extended family. And again, huge shout out to that match with Owen and Davey Boy Smith. It was so good, and a showcase for the European title. I feel like
Bulldog
that title.
The British Bulldog, I feel like he gets lost in history. I feel like people forget how good the Bulldog was.
He's had great matches.
Yeah, but you know what? The funny thing is that people tend to focus on Bulldog and jeans in 1999, 2000, and the the failed WCW run that literally killed him when he banged his back on the trapdoor that the Ultimate Warrior is supposed to come out of. But people, and the story that Brett tells that Bulldog got out there at 92 SummerSlam and forgot everything that they were doing because he was doing drugs all night long, allegedly.
Yeah. Allegedly.
People forget how good the British Bulldog was in the early 90s. I feel like it gets lost to history, but Bulldog's low key one of the goats of all time, and for such a big guy and such a powerhouse, he was very athletic, and I just hope people go back and watch some Bulldog matches because he was right up there with I wouldn't say he was up there with Brett and Owen, but I would definitely say that he was one tier below.
Oh yeah, dude! Watch one of the all-time best Royal Rumble matches of all time, 1992. He was without a doubt one of the favorites going into that. Maybe not to win the whole thing, but he was a fan favorite for sure. When he came out, when he would get eliminations, dude, the whole crowd just was like, "Yeah!"
Do you remember when he walked into that Royal Rumble? He was walking into the parking lot, and he goes, "I'm the British Bulldog, and I'm going to win the Royal Rumble because I'm bizarre."
Yes. Oh, I remember too. He was coming off of the Battle Royal at Royal Albert Hall victory too, so he had a lot of momentum going into the Rumble.
Yes, he did.
So yeah, huge shout out to Davey Boy. Remember when David Hart Smith was signed a couple years ago, and they never did anything with him? Had him in a couple dark matches, then released him.
Yeah, he had. They signed him back. Yeah, and then he was on a couple of SmackDown dark matches, and they were like, "Oh yeah, they're ready to debut him again," and then just gone.
Yeah, I think they even did a promo package for him, either on social media or even as far as a vignette on SmackDown itself.
I think his tag team with Tyson Kidd was way before anybody really appreciated. Like if you had Tyson Kidd and D.H. Smith in a tag team right now, doing the things that they were doing in the doldrums of 2010, 2011, I think they'd be over as fuck right now.
Dude, a lot of people don't give Crime Time a lot of credit, but watch Crime Time versus Hart Dynasty matches. Those two teams would tear the house down every single time.
Yeah.
100%. Love that era of tag team wrestling, Lance Cade, Trevor Murdoch, even the Highlanders to a degree. They were still entertaining.
Facebook friends of both of them, and they still are to this day entertaining.
Wonderful. Let them know that I appreciate what they gave to the tag team division.
The Highlanders were great. Going to TNA more than they loved wrestling in WWE. So.
Let it go.
No,
enjoy his wrestling.
So I don't want to divert too far away, but when he went to that show, he was before the show started. This is according to I forget who it was, but it was somebody prominent. He was at the show and they said, "Just do me a favor, we have a thing in WWE where we're not supposed to go to any other shows, indie shows or anything. So please do not show me on camera." And they're like, "Dog, I got you. Not going to show you on camera." And then literally as they're panning the crowd, they're like, "Oh look, Robin McAllister's here." He's like, "Fuck."
Yeah.
He was just hiding too, just so low down. Oh.
That's rough. To actually to throw him under the bus like that after explicitly being like, "Hey, I'm just here to enjoy your product. Do me a favor and don't get me fired." How hard is that to do?
With him where he said he loved TNA and that him and his daughter were in Orlando and him and his daughter would watch the show, and they were in Orlando on a vacation and they were walking by and they were like, "Oh, free tickets? Let's go."
What do I feel like if he didn't say anything, nothing would have happened?
You know what? They were making a big deal about people just randomly showing up sometimes. They were showing baseball players and football players that were just there, that weren't trying to get backstage passes. They were just "Oh yeah, there's AJ Przinsky." And I know they ended up doing stuff with AJ Przinsky and stuff, but they would just show people in the crowd "Oh, TNA is going international" or whatever, and there's AJ Przinsky and there's whoever else. So they were trying to do things and just show people on camera who didn't want to be on camera.
Well, speaking of getting people off of the camera, hey, Tongaloa comes out, and we of course have the rest of the Bloodline. Hey. As Solo says, the OTC is done. As the crowd completely chants, they want that over-the-counter medication. They are chanting nonstop, OTC, OTC, OTC at Solo Sikoa. And Solo makes, of course, the amazing decision that will always resonate for years to come by saying, my werewolf, Jacob Fatu, you will no longer be a tag team champion, bestowing it to Tangaloa, of all people, and then saying, you will now be my Arn Anderson. You will be my enforcer. That was a choice. Fellas, how do we feel about that choice?
He's hurt. Jacob's hurt. So
I thought that was just story.
I don't think so. He's wearing that boot, man, so I don't know.
Well, yeah, but he was also actively using that boot.
He was running in that boot last week.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't know.
And this week.
Yeah.
So I think there is just a story element to this. I don't think there's anything to really look into. It's just Solo being able to flex his power now that he has it, and knowing that Jacob Fatu is going to fall in line.
Hey, let me do my best impression. Hold on. I love you, Solo.
Exactly. We saw that the beast, the werewolf, has a heart. He loves Solo so much. But you know who doesn't love Solo? B-Fab and the Street Profits. So much so that, hey, they don't want that smoke. But you know what the Street Profits want? They want those tag team titles. So, hey, we'll have another championship match right here on SmackDown. What do you say about that? Bloodline, Tongaloa, Tamatanga taking on Street Profits, Montez Ford, Angelo Dawkins. I thought that, I think Street Profits, this just goes to show how well they work with pretty much just any team. What do you guys think of this tag match, though, overall?
Great match, I thought. The Street Profits are so good.
Yeah.
I know Angelo Dawkins doesn't get as much praise as Montez Ford, but he is so good. He absolutely is. To be basically a fridge and being able to move at that speed is fantastic. I think if they did end up going and splitting them off, if they gave him the opportunity, he would have as much single success as Montez Ford for sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like you said, not to be a Chicago Bears elitist by any means, but like you said, Fridge, look at Refrigerator Perry, just a big guy that can move. And, Dawkins might not have that, size factor that he previously did, but he's still a powerhouse no matter what. And yeah, he definitely, and I think every week we better give him his due because he is fantastic.
So I have to let you guys know what just happened because the wheels had started turning in my brain.
Uh-oh.
You said William the Refrigerator Perry, and then I went, yeah, WWE Hall of Famer William the Refrigerator Perry. He was inducted in 2006. The Hall of Fame ceremony that was part of the WrestleMania 22 DVD box set on a special disc.
Circle.
Comes full fucking circle. This is the WrestleMania show.
Full circle, baby. Who would have thought?
And everybody should stick
God, I love
around
you guys.
for the end of the podcast because Nick and I have an announcement for a new show that we're going to be doing. So stick around.
Ooh, interesting.
Big implications. Sorry to catch John off guard there.
I know there's a running joke, but I don't know if that's now. Is that kind of where we're going with that, or
what? My running joke?
Yeah.
No.
That's a different show announcement.
So Nick and I have decided that we're gonna watch a WCW show and review it. That's pretty much it.
Here's John Van Dam, ladies and gentlemen.
I missed what you were talking about because my wire came out, but I heard it now.
Yeah, we were just saying that we're going to do a WCW show. We don't know how often we're going to do it, but we're going to do it.
Yeah, that's cool. I had a feeling.
It was either that or Mac Taven.
that's what I was wondering. It was like, is Matt?
There was never going to be a Matt Taven.
Oh God damn it!
That's the one that will get denied every single time.
Matt Taven himself. Matt Taven himself could approach us and be like, "I'd want to host a show here," and I'll tell him no.
Our AEW and ROH superstar comes to John and John's like, nah, dog, we're good.
It doesn't work for me, brother.
No, but basically, Nick and I were talking on the last SmackDown, that show where I almost died, that we wanted to do a review show of some like WCW shows and just kind of do it for fun, for funsies, and watch a couple of shows and do some nostalgia reviews. So we're probably going to do that. There's no exact date when we're going to do it. We don't know when it's going to be. We have to still watch the show and then coordinate our schedules. Yeah, but we're going to do it. So watch out for that in maybe the next coming weeks or so. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Absolutely.
All right.
Well, hey, let's
wish you the best and all the success.
Hey, listen, CJ, you want to hop on with us, brother, and you want to watch some WCW? You come on board.
I have absolutely no desire to watch WCW, but thank you very kindly for the offer.
Hey now, I'm just saying, like, those mid to late 90s WCWs, though, a lot of them are fantastic. 2000 to 2001, I understand.
But you know what, CJ, I totally understand where you're coming from.
I'll say 99 to 2001. I understand completely. You're valid there. And Jim Herd era.
What, you don't want to watch Macho Man Randy Savage versus Dennis Rodman from 1999 Road Wild? That got a 3 point.
Now that you mention it, I mean, that match specifically sounds entertaining, but yeah. I'll give it a shot, maybe. Tell me whatever episode you guys review that match, let me know and I'll hop on.
All right.
There we go. For that one in particular, we'll have CJ on.
Yeah, we got him. Yeah.
There we go.
Yes. All right. Well, getting back to SmackDown, the show that's still on the air to this very day. That was rough. We have Solo and Jacob Fatu getting in the ring, and hey, guess what? It's time for a beatdown on those Street Profits until it's time for D-Generation X to come out. Let's go. Wait a minute. No, that's just DIY. Sorry, R-Truth. But hey, listen, DIY, they managed to get a lot of good offense, and especially on Jacob Fatu. That was great to see. And you know what? There's a few weaknesses there maybe for the werewolf. Oh, no, wait, just kidding. He got back in there and just killed them all.
Yeah.
And hey, you know what I'll say too? Solo Sikoa was able to get a lot more offense in this time in particular as well. It wasn't just all Jacob Fatu, so I appreciated that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Solo still took a lot of shots during this match, and I had to think, like, there's no way Roman would be taking that many shots from the Street Profits, if any at all. So it just kind of furthers this divide that Solo can wear the Ulafala, but we all know he's not the tribal chief.
Well, that's the thing. If you're doing a comparison between Roman, like you're right, Roman would have never allowed that to happen. And Solo did. So in comparison, Solo looks like a dick. Then,
lesser.
Yeah, it makes him look lesser. And that further progresses the story in a way where you're like, oh, God, this guy sucks. Get Roman back here. Christ.
I mean, it's been that way since he left, but
yeah,
by design, and it continues.
But I mean, listen, I've noticed over the past couple of SmackDowns, like at least the last 6 weeks, the crowd is getting they're not even letting Solo speak. Like in the beginning, they were letting him speak, and they were getting kind of boos and stuff like that. But literally, this is nuclear heat now for the Bloodline. Nobody wants to see, especially now that Roman's come back. Nobody wants to see this dude.
Right. Well, following this segment where we have the Bloodline standing tall, we followed that up with a video package for Michin Mia Yim. There we go, saying
she's in the panic room.
She's in the no, she's in that. Those destruction rooms.
Yeah, the destruction room. Yeah, where you go in and beat things up. Yeah,
dude, that thing looks cool. They gotta do a promo package with Jacob Fatu going into one of those. That'd be
but
sick.
The glass bottles are just jobbers.
Oh, like put like different figures in there, have them just rip them all apart.
Yeah.
But
I'll just let you guys know. I thought this was a Progressive ad, so I skipped it.
To be fair, I think they did have a Progressive ad right before it, so you're not wrong.
Well, I thought there was like the Progressive where Flo was like doing her thing, and then they cut into, and then they go into this video. So I just skipped it. I thought it was a highlight package from something she did last week.
Yeah. Well, I think didn't she say that she was going for Nia at Bash at Berlin?
Yep, she says in particular she's going to slaughter Nia in Berlin.
Oh, okay. I don't think that's going to happen, but okay.
Nope. But hey, speaking of which, we go backstage and we have Tiffy time alongside Pretty Deadly. And they are trying to put Nia's crown back together piece by piece, spike by spike. And Nia comes in and she is just like, really? She's going to slaughter me? No, she's got the beating of a lifetime waiting for her. And Tiffy asks, hey, is there anything I could do for you? Nia's still pissed. Nia's upset, right? So tells the royal subjects, Tiffy time and Pretty Deadly, go on. And Nia Jax overhears Miss Chelsea Green and Piper Niven saying some things about her. Saying some things like how Michin just wouldn't have made it if they were there. Michin wouldn't have gotten past Piper. So, Nia, being the queen that she is, says, hey, I overheard that. And Chelsea's like, oh, you did? Did ya? And then that's the end of the segment. That's fantastic. Nia looks at them and they walk away.
Just to add as well, they did make comments about how Stratton's alignment with the champion is purely for self-motivation or selfish reasons. She wants the title and is just waiting for the right time.
Chelsea said it'd be a shame if Tiffy was to cash in on you, right?
Yep. And the one thing I liked about this segment was that the glue sticks that Pretty Deadly were using said pretty sticky on them.
Ooh. Spicy SmackDown. Don't they forget SmackDown's PG. All right, but getting over there.
At least until it hits Netflix.
No, SmackDown
over there.
Eventually.
Yeah.
But the record shows SmackDown perpetually always PG in its lifetime. They got away with a lot more early on, but remember, it was always PG.
Not even on the UPN days, they weren't 14.
No, it was rated PG.
Yeah, even with Mr. McMahon making out with Sable the whole time.
He would have had to have been PG to be on UPN, even in primetime broadcast television and all that.
Isn't SmackDown going to back to USA or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who knows how that's gonna go though? Because it's not like Raw is any edgier than SmackDown right now. Right.
No.
But they're making a bunch of sex jokes. They're
Morgan's showing a little pelvis.
Yeah.
But I imagine NXT on the CW and SmackDown on USA are going to be their last TV network deals. They're going to move to Netflix.
Yeah, I think so too. I think if Netflix is like, here's $5 billion more, let's get the rest of it.
Oh yeah,
they're going for sure.
Yeah.
I think there was a report out the other day that said that Netflix had like a surge of like 30. I don't want to say 35 million. I don't want to say that, but I think it was a large number of subscribers, and they said that it was all due to WWE. So they're pretty happy.
It's not a good idea to put all of wrestling, all of their wrestling behind a paywall like that, because traditionally pro wrestling belongs to poor people.
Yep.
You know. So you don't want to make them pay for it.
Yeah.
Me with WCW, because that's where we had the Superstation, and that's how we had access to wrestling.
605, baby.
TBS Superstation.
Oh,
that's some memories.
You know what I missed?
Mothership, baby.
605 doors opening with all the smoke and everything.
Oh yeah. I'm just saying, hey, Saturday. That's always a fun time slot. That's a traditional WCW slot.
Oh yeah.
WCW Saturday night.
But hey, speaking, we go from one generation of Rhodes to the other as Cody, who never lets us forget who his father was, and Kevin Owens team up in the main event to take on A-Town Down Under. As every top guy's got to always make fun of Grayson Waller's accent for no reason. But hey, you know what? We have this as the main event, and there's still that semblance of, can Cody Rhodes trust KO? The prize fighter, he's betrayed a lot of people in his time. I still question why they showed John Cena in there, because they were never really friends at that point, but what do I know?
That was literally, he came up from NXT and was like,
right.
Hey, I'm going to punch you in the face. That
and
was
then he
their
did
first interaction. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So I'm like, you know, that was a choice. Which almost makes me wonder, they did that by design, because maybe they want to do another Owens Cena bout before Cena wraps up his time.
That would be awesome. But also, I didn't mention it earlier, but specifically when KO called Nick Aldis out to make the match official and then asked permission to punch them in the face, like, that is just such a KO thing. And like, and it's still like, he works really well with Theory and Waller. Like, even as far back as the two faces, one punch. And he got really excited that he did it. Like, their chemistry is just phenomenal. And props to KO, because he has that chemistry with a lot of people.
Also, I want to point out that backstage when they were talking before the match, KO says to Cody, which I love because I love breaking down the fourth wall, where he says, hey, I didn't just set up this tag team match so that afterwards I can turn on you. So I just hope you know that that's not my intention. I just really want to get my hands on Theory and Waller. And Cody was like, well, listen, all I can do is just take you at your word, and whatever happens after that happens. And Kevin Owens gives him like a little look like, no, yeah, you are right. I was kind of a dickhead in the past. So, you know, I can't fault you for saying that, you know. But I got to be completely honest with you guys. Like crazy. I fell asleep during this match, and I woke up and it was 10:25, and I panicked because I thought that I had missed the podcast.
Okay, that explains the message, because you're like, hey, can I still jump on? And John's like, we're not live yet.
Yeah, I was like, oh, thank God, because I woke up and I was like on the couch and I was like, oh, God, I'm gonna look at my phone and it's gonna be like 2 a.m, and it was like 10:25, and I was like, oh, good.
There's still time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, hey, speaking of which, we get through this match, and honestly, there was still about 5 minutes left to go, so I think they knew what they were doing in particular by ending it right at that time, because then you look at the time and you're like, something's happening. Is something going to happen? And, hey, don't you know, A-Town Down Under, they are outside of the ring. Cody's staring at them, and who's behind Cody? None other than KO himself with the undisputed heavyweight WWE Championship title. He's got that ready to go, and Cody just can't stop moving. He is just like, are you going to do this? Is this where this is happening? Like, are you going to prove them right? Is this going to make me another part of that exhibit video that they were showing everyone? Well, not really. Owens kind of joins up with Cody to start yelling at A-Town Down Under, which, hey, you know, if you're going to join in and yell at them, that's probably the best route that you can take with that. But, hey, Owens lifts up Cody's arm, nice and high, nice and proud, and guess what? SmackDown goes off the air. No betrayals. What do we think of this match in particular in the segment?
The specific moment where KO is holding the belt, very quickly heading towards Cody, and in one motion just pushes it into his chest and makes nothing of it. That was brilliant. That moment, and I mean, I don't know if we've talked about it on SmackDown, but I know it's been brought up on the Raw and NXT rewinds that there are moments that are just cinematic. Mm-hmm. And the execution of that moment is what I would just describe as cinematic in the best way.
Absolutely.
It tells a phenomenal story, and I love it.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, that's how I personally see a lot of WWE's biggest and best moments is when they're done cinematically, such as that. And, you know, I think in particular, this makes me much more excited for their match at Bash in Berlin following, you know, our connections to the video again for the European title with Owen and Davey, or just again the potential of, is Kevin Owens going to revert back to the KO, the prize fighter, and just do it for himself and not for his friendship with Cody? Because again, remember too, was it last week or the week before where Kevin Owens was saying, I don't deserve this, I'm not going to do this? Like, that's so opposite that prize fighter that first jumped up to the main roster and sucker punched Cena in the face.
Well, if you remember in that match that he had, what was it? Was it Owens and Grayson Waller a couple weeks ago, or was it Owens and I don't remember? But he was doing the pop-up powerbomb. He said to Grayson Waller, he goes, "You want to see the OKO? You want the prize fighter back?" And that was like the first time in a long time that he had done like the pop-up powerbomb. So, seeing a little bit of shades of the old KO coming back. You guys think he's gonna? You think he's gonna turn, or do you think they're gonna go with happy-go-lucky fan favorite KO?
I think for Bash at Berlin, he's still going to be a face, but I think heading into Bad Blood, KO's going to get his rematch, and he'll be going into it at heel.
Well, remember, Solo Sikoa said he wants the winner of Cody and Owens.
If Roman comes back heading into October, yeah. I think he'll have his hands full.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I think too, just major league heel wise, Kevin Owens is so good at what he does as a heel, and if he can bring that back for the modern era of SmackDown, oh, that'd be so good.
I just saw a video.
Yes, perfect.
I saw a video. SmackDown went off the air of Jey Uso throwing his shoes into the crowd.
Watch for the shoe.
Yeah, hold on. I'm gonna try to see if you guys can see this, but.
Why was Jey Uso even at SmackDown?
Dark match.
Apparently just to throw shoes.
Wasn't he in last week's dark match too? There it goes. Watch for the shoe.
Yeah, he last
providing promo for All In.
Yeah, last week they had a match. It was I believe it was Damian Priest and Jey Uso teaming up against it was Dominic and I think Finn. I'm pretty sure it was. That was pretty. That would be a pretty special dark match.
All right. Yep. Well, at that point, we have just got through this entire episode of SmackDown. Before we get to some of our little individual segments, overall, what do we think of this episode in particular?
Overall, good show. Very entertained.
Yeah,
you were sports entertained, CJ?
I am sports entertained.
I would say. I'd say it's 7 out of 10. I enjoyed it. I mean, I did. Listen, I fell asleep because I've been working so much, not because it was wrestling. I stayed awake during WCW pay-per-views in 2001, so that will tell you something. But yeah, I'd say a solid 7 out of 10. I really enjoy a 2-hour show as compared to a 3-hour show. Like, I would never be able to do the Raw podcast because I would just. My brain would shut off after the second hour. So I like a good tight 2-hour show where you get all your storylines that you want to get across, and there's no filler, and there's no 5-minute backstage segments. Like that's what I like. So I'm glad.
My brain also shuts off after the second hour, and I just kind of autopilot through the rest.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I don't go back and watch some of those old Nitro shows, because when they went to 3 hours, they were just fucking unwatchable.
My bad.
You didn't want to watch Van Hammer and Jerry Flynn? What?
Oh. I'm going to leave. No.
Because remember, too, the way Nitro was always framed was, too, it was going to be those real quick, like 4 or 5 minute matches. So now picture how many of those they had to shove into a 3-hour show.
Oh, God, man.
That was the time. We'll be getting through those. But hey, we go from that into our segment of the night, brought to you by all of those amazing, awesome Delphin Pod shows. There's a lot of great ones out there, including Dirt Sheet Radio. John was mentioning he was going to be having a meeting with Delphin at some point. He said Chicago, but then Japan all of a sudden came in out of nowhere. I don't know if John Van Dam wants to pop in here and talk a little bit more about the Delphin Pod shows.
Yeah, absolutely. Go check out the Delphin Pod shows. Just give it a good old Google. Delphin Pod. They've got a whole bunch of TV, a whole bunch of podcasts going on over there based on pop culture, film, Revenge of the Sequels, always good. I haven't caught up with the current lineup, but if I know Delphin Pod, I know they always have a topical, pop culture relevant show.
Countdown to Infinity.
Countdown to Infinity. There we go. What are we counting down to right now? Captain America 4? More than likely. So I'm sure go check that out. Delphin Pod Podcast. Also, check out the little show called Dirt Sheet Radio over on that network.
Major Issues Podcast.
Hey, yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. We are on the segment of the night. All right. Mac, what was your segment of this episode of SmackDown?
I really enjoyed the opening segment. I really enjoyed the douchebag heels showing all the shit that Kevin Owens had done in the past. And I really appreciate Kevin coming out and addressing it and saying, like, yeah, I've been a dick, but Kofi, it's on me, dog. You didn't deserve that. I thought that was really good. I like segments like that call back to certain things. And I also love the appearance from the For the World champion, Chris Jericho.
Wasn't expecting that. That was great. CJ.
My segment of the night. Okay, so for clarity, is there going to be a match of the night, or okay? So I would have to agree with Mac. My segment of the night was the Grayson Waller effect. KO is always entertaining. Grayson Waller really showcased well here. Cody Rhodes is Cody Rhodes, and Austin Theory is also there. But it was presented in an entertaining and compelling way, and so that's why it's my segment of the night.
Yes, sir.
Great choices, fellas.
What about you, Nick?
When I'm looking at the different segments of the night, I did like that one, especially because I wasn't expecting them to show Jericho, and by that same token, wasn't really expecting them to show off that Berlin show, and they don't really show a lot of stuff with Owen in particular. So that was definitely a nice little surprise. But I think overall, I'm going to say something a little controversial here, but I'm going to go with that segment with Jacob Fatu, but not for the reasons everyone might be thinking. I'm going with it in particular because it showed that there's still those elements to him that he's not just this big unstoppable monster, that even someone like Johnny Gargano or Tommaso Ciampa, they can still get the level of offense in there against him, and they can still find those little openings in his armor. Like, he's not 100% bulletproof. And I thought that was really helpful for getting that thing over. Didn't really care much for the transition of the tag team titles, but I like that we're pretty much making Jacob Fatu into basically a super Arn Anderson.
I love the fact in that thing that when he said, give him your title, there was no hesitation. So he's a soldier.
Exactly.
Well, and they mentioned it on commentary a few times, blind loyalty. Just being able to hand the title over when told to, which I don't know how well that holds up, but I mean, it's effectively just another variation of the Freebird rule.
Mm-hmm. Listen, now you have God as the IWGP, ROH, and WWE Tag Team Champions. So there's the top three companies, right there. So,
Wonderful.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right. Well, we go from the segment of the night to the match of the night, brought to you by monk.com, monq.com. Go there for your own set of personal aromatherapy diffusers. You want a few that have CBD? Hey, they got those. So you can go there. They got packs of like 4, 5, they have 3, they have 10, you name it, they got it, and it's going to be a lot of great flavors, a lot of good stuff. There's Happy, there's Zen. I think they're going to be getting rid of the Relieve flavor soon, so make sure you go and grab that while you can. And when you do, and you're at the checkout counter, go and enter DSR10. That is promo code DSR10. Get 10% off your purchase of Monk today. Now, that gave me plenty of time to be thinking about what my match of the night was. Honestly, I'm going to have to say, and again, I'm going to be going with probably the controversial one, but I'm going to go with the women's trios match purely because I really like the showcase that the women had, but in particular the winners. And I thought, again, it was a great way to remind everyone what Jade can do, what Bianca can do, and what Naomi can do. And I think that's a very important thing for when you go to one of these point A to point B type shows. All right, in reverse order, CJ.
My match of the night is the U.S. title match. Both guys looked tremendous in this match. LA Knight getting his first title defense in the nation's capital. I think kind of gives a little bit more to it. And this was the first SmackDown that I've actually been able to watch, I think, since he won the title. So, or maybe the one after. But this was the first time that I had seen or heard his new remix theme. I love that a lot more. Like, I liked his theme before. This is fantastic as far as I'm concerned.
And it's not Def Rebel, so that's why you like it.
Oh, yeah.
Instantly miles better. Yeah. Mac?
So, because you guys picked the other two matches, but I'm going to go. So, I'm going to say this, but I also want to put a caveat to it. I'm going to go with the tag team title match. The tag team title match, really what it showed was that God is beatable. They can be beaten. Like, I know that any team can be beaten, and they've done this with heels along the way. But just like, Solo got his ass beat at the end of the match, and CJ said earlier, someone like Roman wouldn't do that, so that shows the stark contrast between Roman and Solo. The Usos had a lot of help when they were tag team champions with Roman and stuff like that, but most of their matches were pretty much, interference free. They had Solo there at the end, and stuff like that, but comparing the Usos to God in this sense, because they are basically the Usos of that group, and Solo is Roman and Jacob is Solo. If you're comparing those two teams together, you never thought that the Usos were going to lose. Like, every one of their matches, you're like, nope, they're holding on to the titles. Nope, they're holding on to the titles.
Right.
And I didn't think that God was going to lose tonight, but the Prophets came within like this, like really, really close, and they needed the help of Jacob to get it to, finally cross the finish line. But I like the way that they're going, like, making this bloodline seem strong, but at the same time making them seem weaker than the previous, the OG bloodline. So I think getting that point across that, no, these guys aren't the Usos. No, these guys aren't unbeatable. They can be beat. They need help. I think that's why it's my match of the night, because it really had a bunch of like hidden Easter eggs within the match itself.
Yeah, cool. And I think too that's again one of like the best parts when it comes to just anything like bloodline related in particular, is because you've got all of those Easter eggs, like you said, and all those like references and callbacks and ways that like you could tell this is going to be leading to something later in the future, right?
I mean, Montez Ford in that match was just crazy. That frog splash was just he's a freak in nature. He's he's basically what he's built like LeBron James. Like I look at Montez Ford and I go, oh my God, him and LeBron basically have like the same build. So I'm like, man, what if LeBron had picked like wrestling instead of basketball? That's what I kind of look at it as,
Yeah. Was this their first match since Bobby Lashley left?
I can look. Let me look at Cage. 1 second. You guys talk. I'll look at Cage match.
Okay. So now that we've seen the Profits without Bobby Lashley, do we think that Lashley was holding them back?
It's one of those things where it's just so hard to say a great talent and name like Bobby Lashley was ever holding anyone back. But in particular, when you look at what them as a trio really accomplished, and then you throw B-Fab in there and make them a quartet, it's really hard to say that there really were any plans for them as an overall group, especially with the current SmackDown dynamic. I think now there is that opening for them to be featured a whole lot more, with just needing more amazing, good quality teams to go and take on Guerrillas of Destiny.
Okay, so
the answers here.
The last time that they wrestled as the Pride when they were with Bobby Lashley was April 20th, 2024. They wrestled as the Pride. Then the Street Profits, LA Knight and the Street Profits. So they've wrestled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times since.
Why are you going back to April?
What was Bobby Lashley's last match?
Left.
Well, he hasn't been on TV in a long time.
Injured.
Yeah,
because I remember it was a question of like, what's going on with Bobby Lashley, and they had like B-Fab with them, and we were like, well, that's weird, but you figure he would just come back.
And I mean,
that was too when he was like taken out with so many other people that were removed from the King of the Ring tournament.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
because the last time
right.
Bobby Lashley was supposed to like hurt his arm like weightlifting or something. So yeah, the last time they wrestled together as a team was April 20th, 2024, and
that's
then
shortly after WrestleMania. That's crazy.
Yeah, and then Lashley got injured, and then they wrestled A-Town Down Under, defeat Street Profits, Angelo Dawkins, and Montez Ford for the tag titles on SmackDown on May 3rd, 2024. Then they wrestled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times since then. 8 times since May on SmackDown.
Alone, Lashley-less.
Yep.
So, I mean, hopefully things are charting up for them, but and holding back probably wasn't the most accurate phrase to use, but the way I kind of looked at the four of them, Bobby Lashley always felt like the odd man out, and it just didn't mesh well with the characters that the Prophets and B-Fab are, and the way that they were presented when they were with Lashley kind of felt out of character. And
well, they
were
presented
too drastic too.
Yeah,
but if you look at it, they were presented 3 different ways. So Lashley first recruited them; they were still doing the solo cops and and all that stuff. And then they were losing, and Lashley was like, well, you got to get serious. Then they started coming out. They came out in suits, and I forget who they attacked, but they attacked somebody, and they became bad guys. And then they lost again, and Lashley literally like stripped them of their suits and was like, get out of here. Not anymore. And then Lashley was doing a solo thing for a couple of weeks, and then the Prophets like came back, but they were like in the middle of they were like in suits, but still doing the thing. And then it just kind of like went nowhere. Like if they had just kept remember like when Angelo Dawkins was in that suit and he was like stomping dudes out in the middle of the ring in the suit with Montez Ford, like that looked so fucking cool, man. And then they just kind of just didn't go anywhere with it.
Well, and that felt kind of against the grain in a sense too, because I always thought the Prophets worked better as good guys. So, and then thankfully at Tribute to the Troops, they were able to kind of flip it around and now they're good guys. And that's when things started working a little bit better, but their presentation kind of Lashley's presentation worked for him. Molding the Street Profits and B-Fab around that presentation didn't work for them.
Yeah, I mean, that match that they had with the Final Testament at WrestleMania, I don't know, they just didn't look right together. They just kind of, it was just kind of like, oh, it's Bobby Lashley and the Prophets, and that's it, and that's the last time they were going to team. Oh shit, they're teaming together for good now,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's like a lack of chemistry between them, which It was unfortunate because it was an excuse to be able to see Bobby Lashley, and Bobby Lashley's awesome. I love him. I think he's great, and I hope to see him somewhere within the wrestling world in the near future. Maybe Sunday, who knows? But
So Bobby
Yes.
Lashley got injured on May 9th, 2024.
But think about too how big and strong he is. Like the amount of weight he lifts, that probably would have injured him.
You know,
Yep.
before we wrap this up, and while you guys talk about the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley, and I just want to know what he could have meant. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to upload an image here. I want to see if maybe you guys can figure this one out. I can't seem to get it myself here. Where is this damn image? There we go. It's up. It's taking a second because of internet. You know that darn wireless signal. There we go. What did Montez Ford? What did Montez Ford mean by this?
Oh Jesus! What the fuck?
I took that screenshot myself. That's real.
I don't want to go down this road, John. Can I leave? John, I'm gonna leave.
I don't think we're allowed to talk about this.
No, like I'm just not gonna weigh in on this one.
He usually just tweets "God is good" every single day. Where the fuck does this come from?
Out of nowhere.
Okay, like I'm reading the tweet before I look at the image. So I'm reading the 2.867539 and I go, oh yeah, I had that in my notes. Like, who the fuck is watching SmackDown and like their core audience isn't gonna get that reference? And then I get down to the pictures and I'm like, oh, that's the problem.
Ridiculous, but yes, great time. Great time to point that out.
All right, so none of us could speak to, but hey, you know what we can speak to, fellas? We can speak to what our jobbers of the night are. Exactly. Hey, we even have the graphic for that. Look at that. It's Gilbert.
What?
Yes.
Dwayne Gill.
Dwayne Gill. Remember when he came out, how hyped yet also disappointed the crowd was at Survivor Series 98?
Do you remember when he was in the Job Squad and he a title from Christian?
Mac, you're kind of cutting off and freezing there.
Hold on.
Were you talking about light heavyweight champion Gilbert?
Can you hear me now?
Winning the title off Christian.
Yes.
Yes, he took the title off of Christian while he was in the Job Squad.
That is true. That did happen.
Yeah.
All right, but hey, with that bit of trivia, Mac, you will be going first.
So I'm going to go with Santos Escobar. I hate to say that because I love him, and I love his theme, and I love Legado del Fantasma, and I love Elektra Lopez. But stomping out for like 3 straight minutes, throwing him into the stairs, throwing him into the post, rolling him back in the ring, and still not being able to beat a man who was at like 65% is... I hate the word buried. I hate the word that these 13-year-olds in their mom's basement use to sound smart and think they're in the wrestling business. But like, man, if that's not burying somebody, maybe just for one night. Listen, maybe he comes out next week and he beats the absolute dog shit out of Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews, and I'm happy again. But for right now, I'm like, fuck, man. They just took one of the coolest guys with one of the coolest presentation and all this aura, and just had him lose, and basically in a 3-on-1 match, if you want to get like technical, you know. So yeah, I'm gonna go with. It pains me to say because I love him and I think he's great and I love his character, but unfortunately for me, it would be Santos Escobar. CJ.
I'm gonna go with Carmelo Hayes because the promo in the barbershop didn't really inspire me to get invested in his feud with Andrade. I gotta kind of toss some mud on Andrade as well, just because he's generic speed champion that can't show his title on TV comment. But he's a champion who can't show his fucking title on TV. It's ridiculous. So not knowing that in the back of my mind, I think is actually blocking me from enjoying parts of this story, because I can't get over how ridiculous it is that you have a champion that you can only promote through images of him holding the title on TV.
Right.
But also Carmelo Hayes. It just feels like he's regressed from his time in NXT. He was delivering solid promos down in NXT, and he just hasn't brought that with him to the main roster.
Yeah.
I mentioned before that, like if it was nerves because, now he's on the main show, then that'd be one thing. But it's been months now.
He's missing something.
Yeah. So they're both equally my jobbers of the night tonight.
That's fair. You guys brought up some very excellent names. In particular, though, tonight I'm going to have to go with Santos Escobar. Like, I just can't let that wrestling sin die. With you having the advantage of all of your guys jumping LA Knight, like they could have so easily had, killed two birds with one stone with this. Have them start by either surrounding or maybe beginning the attack on LA Knight, and then have Corbin and Cruz run out there to save the day. Yep. I think that could have accomplished a lot more than everything that they did there tonight. And I think it really didn't help Santos by any means. And especially too, like towards the later stages of the match, it really just came off as this is LA Knight being tired from the match and not the beatdown he received prior.
And you know what I would have liked also, Nick, is if like Legado kept like distracting LA Knight and Santos ended up getting like 2 counts, and then towards the end of the match, like you said, Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews run out, get rid of Angel and Humberto, and Santos is distracted, turns around into a BFT because he's beat cleanly, but he's kind of not because of the distraction. That's what it would have still made him not look strong, but it wouldn't have made him come off look like a fucking doofus to losing to a guy who got his fucking dick stomped in for 2 minutes, so. Right.
Yeah, I'd agree with you right there. And Jobber of the Night, that was powered by comicbookclick.com. Hey, make sure you go to comicbookclick.com and check out your best area to find that nerd culture news source, baby. We got pop culture news, wrestling news, of course. I mean, you're on Dirt Sheet Radio. This is a wrestling show. And then you got, of course, comic book news and connection to the Major Issues podcast and the legendary, iconic, everyone loves it, you can't not think about it, Dirt Sheet Radio podcast. And you know what the best part is? You go to comicbookclick.com. This brings up our megastar of the night. When you are on comicbookclick.com, make sure you scroll all the way to the very bottom of the page, because guess what? You will be able to have access to NordVPN and NordPass. Guess what? NordVPN, it's faster than ever. I'm going there right now, and I'm looking at this. You're going to be able to get 72% off a 2-year plan, plus an extra 3 months. Now, this is a short-term deal, but go get it right now, because again, 72% off. Usually it's down lower than that. Usually it's in the 60s, and usually it's just for 1 year. So now a 2-year plan and all those extra months at 72% off, guys. I'm just saying, you can't get enough of internet safety and internet security. This is how you will become a megastar. And let's go into our megastars of this episode of SmackDown. When I'm looking at everyone that was on here, I have to say this was a nice way to bring Kevin Owens back to the forefront, and him just standing there with the will he, won't he aspect of, is he going to hit Cody, or is he going to be respectful to Cody Roadster, Dusty's son? Hey, you know what? I thought it was a nice little way to kind of end the show and even start the show too, and just those seeds being planted of Kevin Owens, not a great guy, and his past history being able to give us some reminders of some of his best feuds over the years, and being able to see Jericho on SmackDown. So many different things Kevin Owens did or was a part of just made him pretty much the MVP, the superstar for this SmackDown episode in particular. All that being said, CJ, who's your megastar of the night?
Well, it was going to be Kevin Owens, but then I found a lot of points that I was going to say you already said. So I'm going to go with LA Knight. Dude had a stellar match. He kind of stumbled on his promo a little bit later on in the night, but I'm excited to see what he does anytime he's on screen. I'm excited for the return of the U.S. Open Challenge, particularly because I know that his character works well in those kind of blind matches. So I think if they really want to make his U.S. title reign a net benefit for him, this is the best way to do it. So megastar of the night,
Mac.
So I have two, but they're kind of like a 50-50 like package deal. So number one, I'm gonna say I really enjoyed Grayson Waller's character work when he first came out for the Grayson Waller effect at the beginning of the show, cutting off Cody, having the video package showing that Kevin Owens is a rotten person deep down, and just pretty much being a heel in professional wrestling that everybody hates. Yeah. Nowadays, even with MJF doing the Hulk Hogan America thing, whatever the fuck he's doing now,
Maxwell Jacob Freedom.
He's still cheered.
Right.
He's still cheered because he's a cool heel. He says fuck and he says dick and piss on television, and everybody likes that, so they're going to cheer it. So it's very rare to have a heel in professional wrestling nowadays that everybody just across the board, men, women, children, babies, everybody hates. And that's Grayson Waller. And I think it's a testament to how good of a character and charisma that he has. My second person, I'm going to go with Kevin Owens because I just love Kevin Owens. I've loved Kevin Owens since 2004, the first time I saw him. I've met Kevin. I've interacted with Kevin numerous times when he was in Ring of Honor and just trudging away. I'm not going to sit here and say that I've always thought, oh, he could be a main event guy in WWE. When he was doing his thing in Ring of Honor in like 2008, 2009, I always thought, okay, he's going to be he's going to be a good hand in WWE. He's going to be a serviceable guy. He'll be in the mid card. He'll be like an Intercontinental Champion or a United States Champion. It'll be great. But he's really hit above his weight when it comes to WWE. He's knocked it. Whether he's in the mid card scene, whether he's curtain jerking, whether he's in the main event, he always puts 100% into it. And I can't heap enough praise onto Kevin Owens. And to see somebody who was wrestling in front of like 150 people in 2005, 2006, now to be in front of, 30,000 people in Berlin going for arguably, and I say arguably because the title around Gunther's waist is more important than anybody, I believe. But Cody Rhodes is still the top champion in WWE, and Kevin Owens going after that title is just it's always a fever dream to me. So I'm going to say Grayson Waller for character and Kevin Owens just because he's fucking awesome.
There we go. I think an honorable mention is due for Tama Tonga. He is one of the more interesting and talented members of the Bloodline in ring. So I think he's definitely compelling, and he's always, ready to. My brain shut down again.
It's a long show. We've been on here an hour and a half.
Yeah, he's been doing fantastic, and this match was proof as well.
So Nick, before we go off, I would be remiss to mention that today is the 1-year anniversary of the death of the late great Bray Wyatt, who passed away on August 24th, 2023 in his sleep. Bray Wyatt is Wyndham Rotunda is one of the most creative minds in wrestling history. I don't think WWE really ever put like 100% behind his ideas. Maybe he was a little bit too eccentric at sometimes, but just one of the most creative, innovative, and just all around. I've never met him, but from reading testimonials when he died, great human beings, and hell of a professional wrestler. And his presence on Raw and WWE and Smackdown is missed tremendously every day. I'm not personally a fan of the Wyatt 6 thing, but I recognize that it's a love letter to Wyndham. And so, one of the most shocking wrestling deaths of all time. Just rest in peace, Bray Wyatt. And there's nothing really that you can say, just rest in peace.
I mean, one of the things I always think about when it comes down to just the years of SmackDown, I will always think to when Bray Wyatt won at Elimination Chamber and became the WWE champion. That moment, to me, just kind of cemented that, Bray Wyatt will forever be one of the top stars in WWE history now and forever. And again, when you look at just the sheer amount of creative power, creative force that Wyndham Rotunda, Bray Wyatt was, like, he has had such a tremendous impact. And even a year following his passing, that's still being felt to this very day with the Wyatt 6 stuff and that amazing documentary that was made. Like, it's such a shame that we lost such a amazing talent and a beautiful, wonderful person from all accounts. And again, it's just such a tremendous loss for wrestling and his family and friends. So, like you said, rest in peace, Bray Wyatt.
I'm not going to jump in and add much more to it, but just it is one of those. What they're doing is one of those stories that only Bo Dallas could do. It's fantastic storytelling. Like those first Wyatt tapes were just so gut-wrenching and heartbreaking, and it's exactly what Bray would have come up with he was booking his own death. Like, this would be exactly where he would go with it. And it's that, I think that's part of why it's so captivating, because it comes across as so it is so genuine. It's one brother paying tribute to his flesh and blood.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think too with Eric. I was just gonna say too, and like look at even just beyond the blood relation is just his longtime close friend with like Eric Rowan. Rowan has dealt with a lot of loss, because you also look at losing Luke Harper, Brody Lee. That one promo where he's legitimately breaking down and crying. Like, I always picture Eric Rowan as being this just big, unstoppable monster, and just the fact that you see just the sheer impact that both men have had on him, it just again goes to show what tremendous people both guys were. But again too, like just looking at Bray Wyatt and how many people throughout the roster were really impacted by him creatively and just being friends and colleagues with him. Again, like words can't do it justice. He's absolutely a huge figure in WWE history. He's going to absolutely be missed, and it's a shame to think about what could have been, but at the same time, I think we do get that solace that this Wyatt 6 storyline, and who knows, maybe other elements too, were all factors that had contributions from Wyndham.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's one of those it's one of those deaths that when you hear it, especially being a wrestling fan,
Yeah.
You feel like you lost a member of your family.
Mm-hmm.
You feel it in your gut. You feel it in your heart. You cry because, honestly, like, you know, I'm 42. I've been out on my own for almost 20 years now. Like, I see my parents maybe once or twice a week, but I see these characters on TV and online all the time. So you have a connection with these people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you go, oh, hey, look, you know, oh, hey, there's the Elimination Chamber match where he caught AJ doing the phenomenal forearm into the Sister Abigail, which is one of the best spots ever. And you go, man, wait, Bray Wyatt's so awesome, and you draw a connection to him. And then when he dies, you're like, oh, I'm not gonna see that person like in real time ever again. And it's just a shock to the system, you know. So, yeah, Bray Wyatt dying was one of it's a moment that when I found out, when I was texted by somebody in the industry, texted me even before it broke online, I didn't know what to do, you know. But I'm glad that they're doing this love letter to Bray, and that Rowan is there, someone who had a strong connection with Brody and had a strong connection with Wyndham. And I think like I said, it's not for me, but the people that it is for, I'm happy that they have this.
Absolutely. And yeah, like we all said, you know, rest in peace, Wyndham. We're gonna miss you. We love you, and it's nice to still see your vision coming into fruition in different ways. But yeah. Mac, what were you going to throw out there before we keep going?
So I don't want to leave it on a somber thing, but apparently Jordan Grace, TNA Knockouts champion, was at VXS Wrestling, a show called Arrival 2 tonight, where she issued an open challenge for the TNA Knockouts World Championship, and it was answered by none other than Megan Bain.
Oh.
And I'm watching the highlight video right now, and the match looked like it fucked hard. So if anybody wants to check it out, it's on Wrestling Covers, at Wrestling Covers on Twitter, X, whatever you guys call it. They have a 3-minute video up, and it looked like the match was pretty good. So I kind of didn't want to leave on a somber thing with Bray. I just wanted to give somebody something to go look at. So I just figured I'd throw that out there.
Wonderful.
Oh, absolutely. Well, is our tremendous friend John Van Dam still in the backstage area there? Is this where I can summon him out here?
There he is.
There he is.
Hello.
There he is. John, do you have any last minute things you wanted to throw out there before we close up shop?
Don't do drugs. Don't talk to strangers. Do drugs if you want. Do drugs. But don't do like too much drugs. That's always the problem, right? Like you do it once, like, you know, that's fine. You're not gonna die, but
stay hydrated.
It's most people can't just do it once. You see, that's the issue. That's why they tell you stay away. Have fun. Be responsible.
John.
Yes.
Did you follow your own advice?
No, absolutely not. It is Friday night, in fact.
That's valid.
But yeah, no. Dershi Radio's on every single day. Every single goddamn day. On Mondays, you can catch us immediately after Raw. On Tuesdays, you can catch us after NXT. On Wednesdays, after Dynamite. On Thursdays, after Impact. On Fridays, after SmackDown. If you go on Thursday mornix in the middle of the night,
secret.
If you're up in the middle of the night, you work overnight, then you can hang out with us live. But if you work, if you drive to work in the morning, or if you take care of your errands in the day, you can listen to the flagship Dershi Radio newscast Thursdays, available everywhere, literally everywhere, all over. Also, on Sunday mornings, CJ and Tyler's NXT Level Up Adventure every single week.
We got a double episode coming up this Sunday because Tyler was unavailable the week before. We're doing a deep dive topic as well as a No Mercy prediction. So if you want to tune in Sunday, Level Up Adventure, it's always a good time.
Yes. As also on Sundays, the 3NT Wrestling Podcast
Yeah.
live.
Oh,
This Sunday, though, AEW All In London, Wembley Stadium, 51,000 people, 4 or 5 hours. I don't know. Those pay-per-views are usually long, baby.
they make them as long as possible, especially the bigger they are.
Pay $50 for the fucking
7
show,
hours.
right? If you were paying $10 a month, I get it. You pay $50, give me 8 hours. Fuck you. You know how much you just paid? You know how many hours of my life that was? I want it back.
The WrestleMania 20 philosophy.
Right? That's a great show. Fuck you.
It was.
Anyway, all the AEW All In. AEW All In. Immediately after that. So the show will air at 1 o'clock, and you figure on the East Coast, 10 o'clock for me. Unfortunately, I got to get up at 9 a.m. on a Sunday. It's just sickening. But I will be
I have
up.
to work in the morning.
I will be up. I don't know what time it's going to be over, but as soon as it's done, the AEW All In post show, I'll be there. Will you?
I'll be there.
I'll be at work.
I was talking to the audience, but thank
Oh.
you guys. I appreciate that as well.
Hey, listen, just because I'm at work doesn't mean I won't be there. I did the whole friggin' podcast the other day at work.
That's great. That's true.
That's true.
We'll see.
We might have also Mama Laraco running the post-show media scrum reports, checking if any more dark clouds will be going on. She'll be texting me those live.
Just keep Baker away from Thunder Rosa. Everything is going to
Get
be
ready.
okay.
That's Storm Cloud, baby. It's moving into Wembley.
It's going to be a good show, though. It is. It's going to be very fun. Come check it out. Hang out with us after it's done. So, yeah,
Hey, Nick,
that's the schedule.
That dark match was Jey Uso versus Drew McIntyre, and they were chanting CM Punk, and I guess Jey Uso
Sounds
said,
like
hey,
a
they'll
suck.
stop chanting it if you yeet with me. And he went to go yeet, and then right as he went to go do it, he kicked him in the nuts.
Yeah, that's great.
I thought you were going to say that like Drew McIntyre heard the CM Punk chants and violently threw up in the middle of the ring.
That's what I paid to see.
There we go.
All right.
Well, fellas, where can all of our lovely members of the chat find you guys on social media?
You can find me at Mac Burns on Facebook. Don't be weird, or I will block you and forget that you exist. Instagram, I'm Curbside Hero, but just type in Mac. I'm sure you'll find me, and you can find me here. That's it, just here.
All right, CJ.
At CJ Carter on Twitter. Mondays sometimes for the Raw Rewind. Tuesdays sometimes for the NXT Rewind. Fridays sometimes for the SmackDown Rewind. Sundays always sometimes for CJ and Tyler's NXT Level Up Adventure.
Right on. Well, hey, it might say Neek Smackdownamite, but hey, you know what? You'll know me as Nick Laraco, and you'll see that anytime you get some of my posts on Dirt Sheet Radio. Hey, feel free to go shoot me some likes, maybe share it if you really want to, and feel free to comment as well. Tag anyone you want, but hey, make sure you give me a follow. I really appreciate it. I appreciate it a lot, actually. And yeah, I'll be able to interact with you if you want, but at the same time too, I'm looking at potentially restarting my YouTube channel that used to be dedicated to the Halo series, so either picking back up on there, looking at potentially making some D&D related content, we'll see. And of course, we're going to be, like we mentioned earlier, Mac and I were talking about a WCW show, so any of you fans of that awesome company, we're looking at anything and everything WCW related. The good, the bad, the ugly, and even the Mid-Atlantic Jim Crockett promotion era. You name it, we're going to be looking at every single aspect of it. And there's John.
You got to start at season 1, George Hackenschmidt versus what is it? Who would it be? Frank Gotch?
Frank Gotch?
Or something? Yeah, Frank Gotch.
No. We got to go even further back. We got to get Farmer Burns.
There you go. Fuck that. We got to find lost footage of carnival wrestling. The pilot for pro wrestling.
Yo,
I think we were talking about before the show doing 1999 Spring Stampede.
Yes, what a lot of people would refer to.
We're jumping around the timeline, John. Leave us alone.
We're gonna review the randomly the hard home episode of Game of Thrones Never talk.
All right, we're gonna jump to the red wedding. Let's go.
That's actually good content. There should be people out there that randomly review things out of context with no knowledge of anything whatsoever.
I stare at every like Tony Schiavone, Bruce Pritchard podcast. They all just go so all over the place chronologically. And that's going to be the same exact spirit that we're going to be bringing to this. But hey, a lot of people refer to Spring Stampede 99 as the last truly great WCW pay-per-view. Did they see Scotty Riggs versus Mikey Whipwreck? Who knows? But you know what they did see? Juventud Guerrera versus Blitzkrieg. That was awesome. Yep. A lot of fun moments throughout that show. It's a whole variety. But hey, that's going to be the first episode, so we're not going to go all in on there right now. Go check that out. Like I said, all in. We'll be seeing you Sunday. But for myself, Nick LaRocco, for CJ Carter, for Mac Burns, and for John Escudero, this has been an awesome SmackDown chat. And hey,